up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Hello and welcome, family, to another episode of Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms, in your own narrative, in your own story, family. It is absolutely critical because right now we're in a season where the narrative is extremely fluid, and if you're in it, you are literally like a lamb being led to the slaughter, because it's no longer about truth. It's now about perspectives and people sharing their narratives by force, and everyone wants to be the dominant narrative, because one thing the information age has done is it's broken all of that down. We all used to be on this one main narrative driven by, Western Europe and the divided states. But now, the fact that everyone has the internet, we have all these citizen journalists and stuff like that, it's totally changed the game. Uh, Special shout out, family, to every single person that supports us on Patreon. We appreciate, love you so much. Please consider supporting us there so that we can continue to bring the Wake Up Africa news to our people. And thanks to everyone that has subscribed to the channel, that likes and shares. We really appreciate, love you. So I've been getting a lot of questions about something that happened almost a couple of weeks ago, let's say 2, 3 weeks ago in South Africa, when 22 youth literally collapsed and died just like that in a nightclub. There had been rumors and allegations that something was sprayed into the air, but it kind of brought a lot of shock to the people, and a lot of people wanted me to respond to that. And then we saw, like, a couple of days later, I think maybe a week later, in KwaZulu Natal, like 12 to 14 people were killed on the same night. I think there was a shooter who just came and like started shooting at people. Another 8 people were killed, and then we saw what happened with the Malila massacre, etc., etc. So people wanted me to respond to what is happening. And family, we have to recognize an empire is falling, and the empire that is falling, its foundation is built on blood sacrifice. Like, it's not a joke. And so, what's happening now as the empire is falling, it's like when you see a building crumbling. Babylon would want you to think it's a controlled demolition, but it's not. They literally did not, they knew something was coming, but they don't even know the magnitude, the scope, how it's going to look. They don't. That's why they're still trying to dig up our ancestors' dead bodies, so that they can try and figure out if there's any sacred text that they can do that. That's why they've gone on these crusades around the world, trying to get their hands on all the ancient texts so they could try and predict this. Because that's all they can do, is put a few things together based on the mathematics they learned from us to try and predict things. But anyway, Babylon is falling. It is the end of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire didn't end back in the day. It's ending now, in our lifetime, family. That Bible that so many of you hold, but and then none of you have read, is a living book of spells. It's a living book that has created like time loops. And the reason I'm even talking about the collapse of Rome is because with the collapse of Rome, you have to be extra discerning and extra sensitive not to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. I know sometimes we experience cabin fever. And the ironic thing is, when I first moved to this like little village, well, it's not really. It's a bit cosmopolitan. Like, there's a lot of really amazing, like, well, not a lot, but there's a few really nice restaurants and all this stuff. And I had been out of that vibe for almost like 3, 4 years. But sometimes you go through cabin fever. But even here in the village where I am, before I would ever, and it's like a once in a blue moon, go out somewhere, maybe to see a live band, to eat something, because here it's a totally different vibe. It's more like a community vibe. I listen to the spirit. And that's how we have to be right now, because you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So as you enjoy the fall of Babylon or the final entrappings of Babylon before they lock this whole thing down, or try to, just make sure that you're always moving in intuition, that you're always really present in your situation, especially when you're in Babylon family. Because when I talk about you having a spiritual, team, guardian angels, etc., it's the real thing. It's literally like you have spiritual bodyguards. You're never walking alone. As I always say, some of you, the majority have two, three that they're walking with, maybe even just one. And there's some of us out there who have millions. So when you walk into a room, people feel like you've filled the room. That's because you're walking with stories for other days. So I really feel like as we come out of that season of isolation, family, we may be called to go to the Londons and the Nairobis of this world, but always do it with utmost discernment. Live your life, be free. I really believe the worst is over. Not believe, I know, I feel it. And what some of us are experiencing are kind of the remnants, but now we're going to witness a change of sets, literally. You know the way they change movie sets? So one is going to totally collapse and a new one is going to be totally built, but like they're going to be fighting this new one that's coming in. So there's a lot of commotion. Have your off grid home, have your place away from the city. And if you've done your work, you can't even be in the city daily. If you've done your work, it's only something you could in and out. You go for a weekend, you come back. You go for a couple days, you come back. Maybe you'll go to one jazz concert and you'll be good for like, the rest of the year. Because it takes a lot of energy to interact in Babylon and just interact with lower vibes. But that's what I'm taking, family, from this whole situation. And the reason it's happening like this, let me even give you another angle, is because with the collapse of Babylon is the rising of our kingdoms and queendoms, is the rising of the melanated nation. The sun people are rising again. Earth is heating up. Many things are happening. So that means extreme weather, you know. And the vibration is going high because we're raising to a new playing field. But Babylon can only play on this vibration. They can only rule and control and manipulate and conquer on this vibration, which is why you'll see all these killings. Because a lot of killings, especially when you see, like, you know, it making news and making the rounds and kind of capturing that emotional energy from people through the media, the satanic media, then you can know it's a sacrifice. And a lot of these deaths that happen are sacrifices, and they're done to try and keep or pull the vibration back down so that they can keep their control. Because this world, the Babylon Matrix is held up by balloons, family, literally. And all the balloons now are starting to rise up, which will totally just leave them, like that's how their control. What I mean by that is it's so fleeting. And so you'll see certain, random deaths in different countries, especially during elections and stuff. We're going into an election here in Kenya, family. Please send us your best wishes. Pray for with us that we may just have a sudden and revolutionary change in this country. because we know, like, every 5 years they're now sacrificing again to those political gods. I've been told there's four principalities that rule Kenya. Hey, but those are stories for other days. So they'll do, and these deaths will occur in certain hotspots, in certain nations where there's gates or something like that, where there's high frequencies, so that they can keep it down. So, like South Africa, with all that, the deaths and everything happening, it pulls South Africa back down and continues to enslave the Sun people in the cold, calculating, narcissistic world of the former apartheid whatevers. So what we're seeing, it's going to increase, family. These random deaths, these, you know, they are going to go for like World War II numbers in order to try and make us miss the next step. And you know what? I also believe like that's one of the reasons this particle collider has been turned on, is to keep the vibration on a certain level and move into another level of controlling the planet, which can't happen. They're fighting things they don't understand. So, in conclusion, family, be very discerning, live your best life. Go out there and do what you want to do. Well, not everything you want to do, but do what makes you happy. Do what your soul yearns for. We're here to live, to experience, to explore, to learn. We had to kind of come into ourselves in the last 2, 3 years. And now that we've come into ourselves, it's like we've got a new level of spiritual protection, a new level of spiritual armor. So we can go out into that world, but we probably won't want to stay there if your experience has been anything like me or like mine. Anyway, let me know, family. What do you think about all these random deaths, attacks that we're seeing? And my deepest condolences to all our brothers and sisters who have lost their lives to the Babylon system, to Kopamoja. Looking for a conscious community, or for people, who are on their awakening journey, on their transition to an off-grid living in your country, well, we have the solution, family. We're calling it Unity Communities. We get so many emails every week from people who ask if I know of people in their region or people in their city or people in their town who are on a similar kind of journey, who have broken away or are breaking away from the religious psychosis, and they're looking for just people who think the same way in their town, in their city. But more importantly, to give us a community where we feel understood, understood, overstood, where we can bond with people of like mind. And if you feel called to be part of this, definitely email me at drmumbi at drmumbishow.com. Please put your country in the subject line with Unity Communities. Get in touch with me, drmumbi at drmumbishow.com. Unity Communities.
Wake up.